Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our panel on navigating the evolving landscape of tech. My name is Marta Diaz-Marcano. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the manager of content and instructional design at Girls Who Code. Today, we have an incredible lineup of speakers who will discuss how current trends in tech are shaping the industry. In just a moment, I'll introduce you to our panelists. If you have a question for them, you can drop it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your window, as we will have some time for audience Q&A. Also, please note that closed captioning is enabled. If you would like subtitles, you can click on the live transcript show subtitles button at the bottom of your window to turn them on. Okay, now that logistics are out of the way, I'm excited to introduce you to our panelists. First up, we have Patrice Drake. Patrice is a distinguished cybersecurity expert with 15 plus years of experience in technology, cybersecurity, and business consulting. As a proactive leader, Patrice has been instrumental in innovating cybersecurity strategies, executing security operations, and contributing to significant industry reports, such as Combating Ransomware, a comprehensive framework for action. Patrice, a proud resident of the Washington, D.C. area, combines the energy of the city with the quiet worlds of video games and fictional books. Welcome, Patrice.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kira Masters. Kira received her BS in mathematics with minors in mechanical engineering and chemistry from the University of Denver. She has been with Accenture for almost 9 years, where she is currently a data science manager. Kira has worked on multiple projects, mainly in the healthcare space, involving machine learning, predictive analytics, propensity modeling, optimization, demand forecasting, cross-channel analytics, and customer segmentation. When not at work, Kira loves taking her 3 kids to explore the city of Austin. Welcome, Kira.
Thanks, everyone.
Our third panelist is Amanda Robinson. Amanda began her career as a software engineer in 2010. She has previous experience with big tech as well as startup work and has been in the public interest technology space since 2015 when she joined 18F. She is currently a fellow experienced supervisor at US Digital Corps, where she helps early career software engineers navigate their work in the federal technology space. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
And thank you all for being here. So let's go ahead and jump right into our discussion. First set of questions is going to be a little bit about emerging technologies. So how would you describe the current landscape of tech, and how are emerging technologies impacting job opportunities?
That's someone specific. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
I didn't know if it was to someone specifically. You can go ahead, Patrice.
Yeah, so my focus on cybersecurity really gives me a unique perspective of how this emerging technologies such as AI and machine learning, things within cybersecurity itself that affected like ransomware. And of course, I think there is another one such as cloud, which has been there, but is really making a big impact on the way that businesses like mine, Deloitte, shifts and does its strategy. So I really do see that things that are business focused, or these companies that you're partnering with or thinking about as you move into your career, these emerging technologies are what we're looking at too. And these 3 at least are big for us here over Deloitte. There was a second part of the question, and I need to also adjust my camera. It's getting fuzzy for some reason, everybody. I apologize. Was there a second part of that as well?
How would you describe, and how are emerging technologies impacting job opportunities?
Yes. So we see a huge demand for technical skills here. Starts all the way down at the participants level, right? We definitely like to partner with those that are early in their career, seeking out like talent that's either on campuses or, like I said, shifting into tech. So we're at a bit of an underemployment for the technical industry at large. So we do see a rise in the demand for those skill sets, a need for that skill set, and really competition for those that are here on the webinar.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Patrice.
Mm-hmm.
Kira, I know you had something to say as well.
I mean, it's pretty similar to Patrice because Deloitte and Accenture are both consulting firms. I know when I graduated, like data science wasn't really big. And so just getting into that, growing your skills, you can start from anywhere really and just build up your skill set as you go. Like I didn't take any Python or R coding. The only thing that was offered at my college was Java at the time. So that was not great for what I do now, and so it just kind of shows you the ever evolving landscape. I've been with Accenture 9 years and it's changed so much. I have to know, I've learned 6 different programming languages on my own just to keep up. And that's really kind of what you want to focus on, is just keep building your skill set, and technical skills are so valuable, so useful too, inside and outside of wherever you work. It's just analytical thinking, critical thinking, strategizing, honestly. And I think kind of navigating those waters is great tool for anybody. The jobs we've definitely seen gone up. Generative AI with ChatGPT coming out, like you're gonna see tons of spaces now opening up job markets to anyone with generative AI prompt engineering, learning how to do foundational models and building up from there. Definitely has changed the market. We're investing so much money just in generative AI and in our employees who know that kind of technology. So definitely changes all the time. So definitely be keeping on your toes.
I would definitely echo that as well. I think the biggest constant in this field is change. There's always new languages, always new frameworks and technologies. So yeah, being able to go with that flow to learn those languages. I see the comment that it's amazing to teach oneself 6 languages on your own, which it is, but also I think like probably all of us have learned a new language for a new job or a new project at some point in our careers. And that just becomes one of the skills, is just knowing enough about what the overall differences and similarities are to be able to learn those things. And I think the creative problem solving stays the same throughout. And that's what I think is the fun part, and what is like really the heart of what I would say is software engineering at the very least. I think data science does get very analytical as well.
Oh, thank you all so much. And Amanda, I really appreciate that phrase. The biggest constant is change, right? Those two things don't sound like they belong in the same sentence, but they most certainly do, especially in this industry. Let's move on to our next question. And again, anyone can jump in to answer. What emerging technologies do you think will have the biggest impact on job opportunities in the tech industry in the next few years? So AI was a good example. We've definitely already touched upon that. Other things like cybersecurity, machine learning. What are some of the technologies that are going to have that big impact?
So I would definitely say AI is a huge one. It's also very much in the news right now. So a lot of people are thinking about it, talking about it. So it's very of the moment. There's just an executive order on AI that mentions digital core as a way to hire AI and AI enabling talent into the federal space, but also similar to other previous changes, I think that it'll shift the shape of work, but not fundamentally change it. Some things will get automated in the way some things have previously been automated by all of our IDEs and everything. Some of the work will become standing up these large language models and other sorts of AI tools. But there will still be, I think that creative problem solving is not something that AI has solved, or I would guess is close to solving. Others may have better information on that than I do. I'm not following that closely that field, but yeah, I think it's just a different, a slightly different focus, but a lot of the same fundamental work.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. I want to also kind of add to that, I know we talked about AI, but it is massive, right? Um, I made, I think, a comment on LinkedIn where I said a lot of people are afraid in our industry in tech of being replaced by AI. And what I really see is a more credible threat of, I don't think you'll be replaced by AI so much as you'll be replaced by someone that's using AI to do the same work you do. So right, I mean, embracing artificial intelligence, adopting it and really augmenting it where it makes sense is crucial. Coming in to tech and realizing that most people are not as well versed as some of the data scientists that are out there that have been dealing with this for a while, puts you on a pretty level playing field. And I want to make one more comment too that I wanted to add for the emerging tech landscape. So I'm here in Washington, D.C., Deloitte, one of the 3 hubs where we do cybersecurity. You'll see behind me, there aren't a lot of people because remote work is also having a huge impact on the tech industry. So you better believe we're working and we're delivering services in tech, but we're not necessarily doing it from offices anymore. So that's a huge impact on the landscape as well. Yeah, fantastic answers.
Yeah, and I want to like just echo Amanda and Patrice, like excellent answers. And AI is a huge range of employment. Like it is not just one specific thing. Like there are multiple different positions, multiple different uses. So when we say AI, it's not like pigeonholing you to any one specific task. And like we always get those fears of new emerging technology. Like when cars were invented, they were like, oh my gosh, it's taking away jobs from carriage people, like it's so silly, that we still think like that, even though over time, like we have such a record over time of how technology innovation has actually improved our job opportunities, our landscape, our economy, like all of that. And it has just created new jobs. Like when I was in college, data science wasn't a job, and now it's a degree you can get in college, in masters, like there's tons of opportunities and there will be tons of new opportunities. So even though we will use AI and it might replace some jobs, it will create new jobs. So I wouldn't be too worried about it like erasing jobs. You'll just have to change with the technology.
Absolutely. We definitely just have to lean in instead of shying away when we know that this is something that's not going to go away anytime soon. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about upskilling and transferable skills. So something that we've kind of touched upon a couple of times and gone around. How do you all think that individuals prepare for these opportunities and adapt their skill sets accordingly? So we've talked about how things are constantly changing. What are some things that people can do to prepare themselves for change?
I would just get well versed, like on what you want to do, study up on it, talk to people in those industries. Networking is your main thing that you need to do is network, network, network. Like reach out to people. Don't be afraid to go on LinkedIn, reach out and say, hey, I'm really interested in what you do. Can we talk about it? How did you get started? Because everyone's story is so different. You can see people that didn't get tech degrees are now in tech jobs or vice versa, like how did that happen? How can you make that transition? What kind of courses can you take to
Mhm.
upskill kind of thing? So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I'm a big fan too of getting involved with organizations, communities. I mean, you found your way to Girls Who Code webinars. I like following certain content creators too, both on TikTok, LinkedIn. There's a lot of good people in the space. Again, I specialize in cybersecurity, so really staying in touch with your cohorts and peers is huge because you get to see what they care about. And a lot of times, especially content creators, will talk about the things that the industry cares about, right? They'll be in cutting edge conversations or playing with that new tech or seeing how people are thinking about that. So if that's what I did at the beginning of my career, it was a little bit different because, of course, content creation wasn't as huge and content creator wasn't as huge, but still, like just staying involved in certain groups, associations was a really good thing as well too, to keep up with everything.
Yeah, those were great answers. I definitely want to echo, like, keep on learning new things. Don't be afraid of trying something new when you change projects or jobs. Just because a team is using a language that you haven't used before, that is often expected in the industry. You will start a new job and have to pick up Python, and people will help you with it, and they'll be patient about that because that's just the way it actually works. So like, go and try those new languages, try to learn new things all the time, take advantage of those programs if your job has them, where they'll cover the cost of going to a conference or of taking a class or something. And I think that, like, one of those things you do see with that, like, automation of pieces of a job, that we're starting to see AI contribute to, is that it gets rid of a lot of the, like, sort of mindless boilerplate part of the work. And that means you can focus more on the, like, more deep thinking pieces of software engineering. And I would say, like, between that and the very remote, heavy job cultures and landscapes that we have now, try to be very mindful of your mental health as well, and of how you are taking breaks and how you are getting a mix of, like, that really deep thinking that you will be doing a lot of, and something else. Because I think doing 40 hours a week of coding, when sometimes what you're doing is, creating all that, like, boilerplate you need to do for a new Java class, or writing out the unit tests, now your IDE can just write some of your unit tests for you, and you need to know what mistakes it might make and what to look for. But yeah, like, 40 hours of just deep thinking is a lot for a week. So figure out how to find that new balance now that, like, some of the old balance is going away.
Absolutely. And throughout this piece of the conversation, we've mentioned a lot of different transferable skills. So before we dive into some audience questions, I'd love to ask you all one more question to think about, and I'll ask each one of you to answer. So if, in thinking about those transferable skills, if you had to narrow it down to one specific transferable skill that you think job seekers should leverage the most for long-term career success in this industry, what do you think it would be? So one big transferable skill that you think is, like, the most important. And I'm going to ask each one of you.
Honestly, it's not tech, it's communication, honestly. Like, for me, just being able to communicate what you're doing, like how you're doing it, everything, communicating with people. I think that is the biggest skill to have, because you could be tech savvy all day, but if you can't explain your work or have an understanding of how to, like, visualize it for someone else to understand who's not tech savvy, like, you're not going to just hand someone an Excel spreadsheet and be like, here are the results. Like, no, like, you have to be able to communicate. And so that's what I would say is communication.
Yeah, I'm almost reluctant to give my answer too, but coming from consulting, which Deloitte is a huge consulting firm, it's networking. So to my introverts, I know, right? I'm an extrovert, so I get it. But being able, maybe under that communication umbrella too, to meet other people who may not know what you specialize in, to show up to that thing, to reach out. Networking is actually very, very beneficial. People tend to like people, or excuse me, people tend to gravitate towards people like them. And getting beyond just those that do your day in and day out it's really, really beneficial to get, your name out there, to understand what's going on. I think networking it's a very, very good skill. There's a great book too. I'll drop it in the chat. It's Captivate, but I need to find the entire book. And I've recommended it to more than a few of my mentees.
Great answers. I hadn't thought of either of those. I'm going to cheat a little bit and say like learning new skills is a big skill, but to do that, I would say that like the fundamentals of computer science can be really, really helpful. So that's kind of understanding the algorithms and data structures that are being used underneath it all. And like, you don't have to re-implement anymore, but knowing how they're going to work is still going to be really helpful. Knowing the sort of fundamentals of how programming languages work and what are some of the differences you see between them, so that then you can learn new ones more quickly, how code is executed, because that stuff is not changing. And that's like how you're going to understand how to do the work well, in addition to just doing it.
All right. Thank you all so much for going on that journey with me. I know it's hard to narrow it down to just one, and I don't think that answers cheating at all, Amanda. I think that definitely represents a lot of what we've talked about so far in this panel. All right. So thank you all so much for sharing those insights. We're going to move on to some questions from the audience. So remember, audience, if you have a question for our panelists, you can drop it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So first question, do you think it's better to have a degree in tech with the changing landscape as opposed to having non-traditional experience?
I think so, honestly. Tech degrees are just so versatile, and like if again, like communication can be learned, or you kind of naturally have that. Technical skills, it shows you can think critically, you can think analytically, you can work in groups, do group projects. I still think personally, I know Amanda and Patrice might have other ideas, but personally for me, I think tech degrees are still very advantageous.
I'm shaking my head because I'm like, wow, this is a good question. We in the industry ask all the time. It's not just degrees. People also ask about certs too. Like, and you'll see people say that certifications don't necessarily, equate to someone's skills. And so I will tell you that tech degrees and certifications make it easier for Fortune 500 companies to quickly identify what you're capable of. Same thing with like your portfolio of work. I often will ask somebody to give me, point me to their repo, because it just cuts down on me understanding and like quickly seeing what you do and don't know. The whole industry is still kind of young compared to something like legal and medical, where there's stringent requirements. So you will see a path to success even without a degree. But each year that we continue to grow, I do see that tightening and gravitating more towards something more substantial, especially for these big companies.
I think maybe a little bit differently about this. I think it depends a lot on what your goals are. There are definitely a lot of companies, a lot of those like big tech companies, the FANG companies, if you know what that means, are very much looking for some kind of computer science degree, or something specific to the work. A lot of startups and just other places are less concerned with that formal background. So depending on what your goals are, it might really be easier for you, be a better strategy to learn some of the basics, get a bit of that like GitHub built up or something, like have enough to show that you can do the work, and then go do the work for those like 2 to 4 years instead of doing the education and then getting into it. There are certain skills that are used on many software engineering jobs that are not taught at many academic programs, and that then people start working and need to learn on the job anyway. That's not 100%, but it's things like doing code reviews and writing unit tests, writing code so that it is communicating what it's doing back to Kira's point earlier. So it's going to be different for different people. And I think that it's certainly like maybe not having the resources to go to a fancy four-year program should not prevent anybody from getting into the field. There's many ways to do it without that formal training, even though I did just say like those fundamentals are important and finding ways to learn them is still a good idea.
Great, thank you so much. And that actually leads into our next question, which is a little bit more about how someone can stand out so that they're not just written off when they don't have a lot of experience, or they come from a different non-traditional background, or they're a career changer. So you mentioned, Amanda, a lot of different things that someone could do to kind of build their experience. Is there any way someone can kind of showcase that so that they're showing, yes, I do have some experience, or I do have these transferable skills that would apply in this situation? How can they stand out if they maybe on paper don't have the background somebody might be looking for?
I think like Patrice said, like she looks at kind of repos and stuff like that. So repos won't always have what you've done for like a job in the past, but they could be your academic work as well. So you could do something like that where you say, hey, you know, even though I don't have professional experience, I have done these types of projects on my own time while also working as, I don't know, a project manager or something. So then I have the organizational skills as well as the coding skills to do that. So definitely play up your past experience for professionally. Like whatever you've done will be transferable. Like it doesn't matter retail, you have to deal with customer service, you know, working in a restaurant, same thing. But, you know, if you want a technical job, you do have to show that you know how to be technical. So definitely having a repo, having some kind of example they can see that you've done the work, but you're looking for a change. So that's what I would say.
I think that somewhat it's like based on your interests, try to get involved in some kind of opportunities while you're still building your skills too. So maybe that's volunteering, showing that like you have done this work in different contexts can help in some cases. Definitely having some work for somebody to look at can be very helpful. Extra bonus if you can find a job where you get to write code in open source so that like that all just happens automatically. But I know that's difficult. And then networking does really help. So again, you know, while you're maybe if you are in an academic program, if you're doing internships, like try to get one or two new mentors at each internship and keep those relationships as you continue your degree so that by the time you're graduating, you have a few people to talk to about it who might be able to connect you with opportunities. And then, yeah, like the volunteering kind of shows your interests and like helps you maybe show relevant contextual experience to the jobs you might want to be applying for after.
Great, thank you all so much. Now, we've talked a lot about networking and communication and the scary things that are also things that are not going away in any industry. And we did give a call out to some of our introverts out there who maybe don't love the idea of having to network. So we're going to close with this question. Do you all have any advice for anyone who has imposter syndrome and are apprehensive when trying to network? How can someone work around that?
I would say treat it as like an acting role. Like it's not you, it's someone else. At least that's how I've seen it sometimes because I get very nervous on interviews. I talk and ramble and use my hands and flip my hair. So I try to like go into it as like I'm an act. It's not myself, but I'm portraying someone who's, you know, really composed and really so smart and so just put together, you know, even if you're not feeling that, if you can just pretend for the 30-minute interview, that at least that helps me get through it. Like put your mindset in a in that kind of situation where you're like, this is not me, this is someone who's cool and calm and collected, you know. Like I would, that's what's helped me. I don't know if it works for everyone, but that's what's helped me in the past with interviews.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is there even for the most experienced, right? Again, another good conversation that happens for those that are 10, 15, 20 plus years, wondering if, hey, is this or is someone going to find out that I don't know everything about this industry? It's tech. You don't know everything about this industry. Neither does the person next to you. But in your own right, you're smart, you're learning, you're hungry, you are engaged. So I would say that, don't be surprised if others feel the same way. Have that empathy, but keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, I think one of the best remedies for imposter syndrome is just talking about it and asking questions, especially early in your career. Nobody expects you to know everything to start. So, and asking questions is a great way to build your knowledge and build your skills on the job. It's also fundamentally what mentorship is all about. So having a mentor, like building mentor relationships, it actually works best if you can come to that, like the cold call, the email, whatever it is you're doing to try to meet people, come to it with a couple of like questions in mind, with some things that you want to learn from them. And that is what it's all about, right? So, and it's constant learning anyway. So always be willing to just push through that fear and just ask the question, and you'll see sometimes they don't know either, and they'll help you find an answer. And that can be really like validating, right? To show none of us know everything. And sometimes they'll know and they'll be happy to share, right?
Love it. Another great quote. None of us know everything. Definitely something to keep in mind always. We're going to go ahead and wrap up our discussion, but a special conversation with Two Girls Who Code alumni will take place later this afternoon at 2:45 p.m. You can find the link in the auditorium. Now, please join me in thanking our panelists for dedicating their time and expertise to our conversation. Patrice, Kira, Amanda, thank you all so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for having us.
Thank you so much.